Okay, today we're going to talk about some food safety myths. Mythbusters reveals facts behind common myths about food handling practices in the home. So, the first myth that we're going to talk about is freezing foods killing harmful bacteria that can cause food poisoning. Just because you're freezing a food doesn't mean that you are going to be killing the bacteria. Actually, all you're doing is just slowing the growth. So, I want you to think about fish in a pond in the winter. Fish are still swimming around in the winter, they're just swimming much more slowly. So when the pond freezes over, in order to conserve energy, fish really slow down and they're not nearly as active. The same thing happens with bacteria. So the growth is still happening, it's just happening at a much, much slower pace. Okay, so the only way to kill bacteria in food that you're trying to kill the bacteria in is to cook foods to the proper temperature. We're going to talk a little bit more about what those temperatures are tomorrow, so hold that thought. A good rule of thumb is that when you're thawing food, just know that bacteria can still be present, and always make sure that you use a food thermometer to measure the temperature of cooked foods. Another myth is that if you're eating a vegetarian diet, you don't have to worry about food poisoning. But there are a lot of different ways that you can get food poisoning, not just like raw chicken and the bacteria that goes along with that. So, fruits and vegetables may carry a risk of foodborne illness just like any other food. So, especially if they are being prepared in the same area or even from like farm to table, there are a lot of different ways that bacteria can be transferred to even fresh vegetables or cooked vegetables. So think about a fly. So if there was a fly that was buzzing around on a farm, it could very easily get bacteria on itself, the fly, and then it could fly and touch down onto a carrot that you are going to eat. And if you didn't wash that carrot ahead of time before you ate it, then you could then transfer that bacteria into your own body and then become sick. A good rule of thumb is to try to make sure that you're following the 4 steps of keeping food safe. So clean, washing hands and surfaces often, also washing your produce. Separate, which means that you're not using the same cutting board for all of your materials. You're using two separate cutting boards, or you're cutting your vegetables first, washing the cutting board, then cutting your meats. Cook, which means that you're going to cook things to the proper temperature. And then chill, so making sure that you refrigerate promptly. Another myth is that plastic or glass cutting boards don't hold harmful bacteria on their surfaces, just like wooden cutting boards do. And while plastic and glass cutting boards are a little bit easier to clean, they do still hold on to bacteria. So it's not like anti-germs, antibacteria at all. It just means that they're a little bit more, able to withstand sanitizing. Any type of cutting board can hold on to harmful bacteria on its surfaces, and every cutting board should be washed and sanitized after each use. Plastic, glass, granite, and hardwood cutting boards are dishwasher safe. When I say hardwood cutting boards, I mean like a full one-piece wood cutting board. Cutting boards that are like pieced together of like different types of wood, like a butcher block, don't hold up well in the dishwasher, and they need to be hand washed because they're glued together, which is the only thing holding them together, and usually the dishwasher kind of disintegrates that glue. If a cutting board becomes excessively worn or it develops hard to clean grooves, it really should be discarded, so you should throw it away. Another myth is that locally grown organic foods will never give you food poisoning, but in reality, any food, whether it's organic or conventional, could become unsafe with illness-causing bacteria at any point in the chain from farm to table. So remember that fly that we talked about before, and remember all of the ways that you can, kind of mess up in the process when it comes to cooking your food. You want to make sure that you're rinsing fresh fruits and vegetables under running tap water, including those with skins and rinds that are not eaten. So this includes like a watermelon that you would want to wash before you cut into it. So if you think about it, when you're using a knife to cut into a watermelon, you would then transfer any bacteria that's on the outside of the watermelon onto the part that you would eat, because your knife is touching the rind of the watermelon and then it's slicing through the part that you eat. So it's really important to make sure that you're starting with a nice clean surface. You don't want to use soap, bleach, or detergents though to wash produce, because those, like the pieces of produce, the pieces of fruit and vegetables that you're washing, can really like hold on to those chemicals that usually aren't very safe to eat. Packaged fruits and vegetables, though, that are labeled ready to eat or washed do not need to be re-washed before you consume them. So remember, frozen foods taste extra good when you cook them, like you should. Organic and conventional foods are both great as long as you clean, cook, chill, and separate. Fruits and veggies are healthy treats. Be sure to wash them before you eat. Regardless of the cutting board you choose, make sure to clean after it's been used. So I got a lot of this information from fightback.org. It has a lot of really great information. I encourage you to check it out. But I also want you to make sure that you're watching this video. It is definitely cheesy and it's a little bit dated, but it really does have some great information on how you can unknowingly transfer germs from one surface to the other, and what you should do to make sure that you are putting items away properly and how things should be stored.